Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Canet, and today I'm back again with another episode of subscriber tips and tricks sent in by woodworkers just like you. I just love doing these things. Lots of really cool things again today. Before you get started on that, I've got a couple of things. And first of all, I want to remind you, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do that. Click the little notification bell. It's the one thing that you can do that does help me out a little bit. The second thing, I want to thank all of the clubs who invited me to speak at their Zoom meetings over the last 8 months. Honestly, I met so many great people. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity of doing that and for helping to keep groups together and clubs together while we got through this COVID thing. All in all, there were 23 groups in the US that I spoke to, 2 groups in Canada, and even one in England. So literally, and I did it for free. And there's 3 clubs that I want to acknowledge today insisted on giving me something for my time. And the first one was the Dell Users Group. And they gifted me this lovely little Starrett Tri-Square. So thank you so much for that. The Orange County Scroll Saw Association, they made a custom certificate I'm going to frame. This will be in my office as a reminder, so thank you so much for that. Oh, and there was a little scroll saw thing that said hugs, and my wife immediately claimed that, so there was that as well. The Mid-Michigan Woodworkers Guild sent me this lovely wooden mallet. And that's going to sit up. You'll see that if you haven't already, seeing that sitting right there in my workshop here. And a number of other clubs, they made me a member of their club, and they send me newsletters and so on. So for all of you who did all of that, I'm most grateful, because now I think I'm a member of 6 or 7 woodworking guilds sort of all around the world, and it's interesting to get the newsletters that you have and see what things are going on. Let's get on with tips and tricks. Here's a great tip I wish I knew about 20 years ago. This tip is from Sylvan. And Sylvan says, how many times have you been in a situation where you've got to put a washer on a bolt, and then you've got to put the nut on, and maybe it's in a cramped area, you can't see it, and as you're fumbling around, you knock the washer off. But look, here's Sylvan's idea. What he says is you can use a magnet and put the magnet and the washer all together on one unit like that. And now when you put that onto the bolt, they don't come apart. And easy to take the magnet off, and then you just go ahead and put the nut and washer on the bolt. Quick and easy like that. That's such a great idea. I love that. Thanks, Sylvan. This idea is from Sean. And Sean has 3 different grits on the same board. Now, I've shown you something before where I have sort of one big grit on one board, but Sean has taken it a step further and added a bunch of other ones. And you know, this sandpaper that you can get, sometimes you can buy sticky back. I typically just use the spray adhesive for it and put it on that way. But this is, I find, is such a handy thing. Sometimes there's things that you want to flatten out, keep flat, one way or another. Lots of different things you can do with this. And I thought this was a great idea, having more than one grit on the same board, because it serves so many other purposes. So great idea. Thanks for that, Sean. Here's a tip from Todd. And how many times have you had a little piece of wood that has, in your cutting, you've got a little piece that's sticking out like this, and you just know that if you don't glue that in there, it's just going to get worse and worse. Now, over the years, I've had many of these, and I've always fussed on how you can get glue in there. But look, here's Todd's idea. He suggests get some glue and get one of these little flossing devices, and you put a little bit of glue on the flossing device like that. I'm just going to run that around. I'm going to run it on both sides. And now you've got something that you can actually get right inside that crack, and that's always been the hard part. You don't need a ton of glue in there, and it always makes such a mess. And now you can push that down like that, and sometimes it'll hold just on its own. Usually what I do is put a little bit of masking tape on that, so I would take that and just wipe that little bit of glue off there and run some masking tape over top of that. But that's the little key right there, that little flossing device, and just putting a little bit of glue on that will fix those little slivers instantly. So that's great. Thanks, Todd. This tip is from Robert, and Robert's making some picture frames. I don't have any picture frame material here, so I just quickly put this together. And he's using, most people use nails, but Robert is using what's called glazier tips. And back in the days when we had wooden windows, these were very popular, and you can still find them today. And the way they work, instead of using nails, most people would use nails to fasten the glass in, but these are nice because they're nice and flat to the glass. They're designed just for this. You can use a screwdriver and you just push them in like that, push it right into the wood, and it holds the glass nice and firmly, stays in there well, and just a great way of attaching glass to picture frames. So that's a really good tip, Robert. Thank you. So here's a tip that was sent in by Randy, and I have never seen a parallelogram being used in the workshop before. I'm sure other people have done it somewhere, somehow, but I have never seen it. And this was completely innovative to me. Where he was using it is for his table saw fence, or one of the places that you could use it at. So if you want to check the alignment of your fence, my wing nut is a little off there. So you just take that and you can set that, lock that to whatever distance you want if you're checking the alignment. And I'm just going to lock mine. Yeah, and it's perfect. It's nice and tight. But look at what I was using it. There's lots of other things that you could do with this thing. For example, if you wanted to set your fence, if maybe your fence is off a little bit and you want to set, let's say, a distance of, well, let's just say 4 inches, for example, you can set that just like that, lock these down, and I put wing nuts on mine so that it's quicker and easier to use. And now you can take that and move that in like that and set your fence and lock that right there, and that should be, yeah, right on 4 inches. So really neat idea, Randy. I really like this, and I've only started to come up with ideas where you could use this in the workshop, and I'm sure lots of other people will come up with other ones. One of the other things that Randy said, you can actually check your table saw blade for alignment with this as well. So very accurate. So, but I'm going to take a second to show you quickly how you would make something like this. So to make this, if you're really serious about making it absolutely accurate, what you're going to want to do first of all is to glue some strips together, and you could even find some place that's flat on your table saw, for example, on the edge, and glue them like that so that they're absolutely flat. The reason we want to use laminated wood is because when you don't use laminated wood, the wood can tend to move on you. If you laminate, glue the wood together, it's much more stable. So the next thing, once you've got your wood, whatever size it is, and you know what, you can make this anything you want, you'll probably end up making 2 or 3 sets in the end because you'll use them at different things. But what's really key with this is that these holes in this piece here, they have to be drilled at exactly the same time, and these also need to be drilled at exactly the same time. So your short pieces, for example, you'll have 2 short pieces. You'll drill a hole in one side, and what I like to do is just put a very small hole in there, and then I'll put a nail in there so that the wood can't move, and then I will drill the second set of holes in the other side, and that way I've got pilot holes that I can use, and that wood isn't going to move on me. The next thing I would do And what I did with mine is I've recessed these, and that's part of the reason for drilling pilot holes. First of all, because then you can use a Forstner bit and drill a recess in there that you can drop your bolts into later on and lock them in there. So after you've drilled your pilot hole, the next thing you do is drill your Forstner bit hole for the recess for your bolt, and then you will drill the through size hole that your bolt will go through. So 3 sets of holes, and that way you'll get the best alignment, and when you recess them like this, they'll sit absolutely flat. You don't need to do that. Randy did not in the version that he sent me, and it will work just fine. I just like to do that so that it sits flat on the workpiece. The other thing that you could do, mine does not fit in my slot. I didn't actually cut that to fit in my miter slot. You could also do that as well. So lots of really good things that you can do to make this, and maybe one of these days we'll do an actual project on this. Well, that concludes my video for today. I'm Colin Canet. Thanks for watching.